All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special episode of the Indie Unplugged. I am, of course, and your man, Vaughan. And today I got my co-host with me, Tye Huntley. What's going on, Tye?
Greetings.
Greeting.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, brother. Always. It's
Let's
always a
do
good
it.
we get together. Uh,
For sure.
yeah, but today is a special episode. We got my guy Major here with us today, right? Y'all know Major. He is a Grammy-nominated, platinum-selling singer, songwriter, and performer whose sound fuses classical soul, R&B, and pop with a message of hope and authenticity. Known for his breakout platinum single "Why I Love You" and his Grammy-nominated song "Honest," Major has built a reputation for timeless storytelling and powerful vocal delivery that uplifts and inspires. And over the past few days, the entire music community has been talking about his open letter to the Recording Academy, a bold challenge calling for a deeper reflection on how genre classification and project placement shape fairness in the Grammy process. Today, we're sitting down with Major to talk about what sparked that letter, what he's learned from the response, and what it really means to fight for fairness while staying true to your art. This conversation is about something bigger than nomination and trophies. It's about fairness, transparency, and the way creativity gets recognized. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Indie Unplugged, Major.
Wow.
What's going on, brother?
Wow, man. Listen. Okay. Listen, y'all. I just that hand clap was powerful.
Hey,
It got me for a second. And that introduction was pretty special as well. I thank you for inviting me here to have some time to talk with both of you. I noticed that Ty is the co-host, and I had the privilege of meeting Ty, I think a little almost 2 years now, 2 years ago when we were working on writing. We were part of a writing camp, and he helped facilitate that alongside the Made in Memphis entertainment community and some other entities. Um, I know y'all's heart from what I've gathered already, and I know that you all aren't in the business of trying to exploit confusion or divisiveness. So I feel safe here to be able to have this conversation with you. But firstly, I want to say thank you for having me.
and man, thank you for being here, brother. And
Absolutely.
greatly appreciate it. And I think it's important even before we get started into talking about the open letter itself, because a lot of people sometimes don't fully understand the entire process when it comes to the Grammys and how it works and the behind the scenes of it, right?
Right.
So a lot of times people think, oh, you just submit your work, it gets reviewed, and then it gets decided what category it goes in, and boom, there's an award, and everybody gets awards for it. But
Right.
there's a lot that goes into it, and I think a lot of time it causes confusion what the process truly is. So can you just kind of walk us through what that process looks like for an artist such as yourself, and at what point did things start to really feel off in your case?
Well, I will say in general, it doesn't feel off. I want to clarify that the Recording Academy is the overarching institution that the Grammys falls under. The Grammys is the award show. That's the awards entity. And oftentimes we think that that's all the work that the Recording Academy does. And that's not right. It's not true. It hasn't been the case. It just so happens to be the most popular aspect of the Recording Academy. And I want to also clarify that the difference between the Grammys and other awards entities is that we are it's an entity that is pure decided. It is pure voted. PEER, pure voted. It is not about a popularity sport. While, popularity may support, the way in which you impact amongst your peers, it's not about how many records you sold. It's not about, what record label you're with, although, we can always say that that could impact, but at the very core of what it is, it's pure peer-to-peer voting of what we believe qualifies for honor and recognition at the highest level. That's how it works. You submit every year. And it is voted on by voting members only, not professional members, not associate members. It is voting members only, a voting body that has been carefully vetted in order to even be qualified as a voting member. You can't just say, I have music out, so I should be a Grammy voting member. In order to be a voting member, you also pay dues. You know, it's a yearly a dues that is expected of us, and it's also highly recommended and welcome for us to be engaged in the Recording Academy's mission year round. So not just to show up around awards time. So that's the basic you know, gist of it. And Ty, you can certainly um tap in where I
No,
may
you
have
hit
missed.
all the key points for sure. Those,
Okay,
I
cool.
think, are some things that lay a great foundation and structure to start from.
Mhm.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's the for me, that's the thing about being a professional member and versus being a voting member, right? Because there are
Right.
certain benefits that you two have as voting members that I don't have as a professional member.
Right.
'Cause
Absolutely.
I don't make music in that capacity. My whole entity is around media and film within the
And
music.
platforming music. And
Right.
so yes, and so we, while you're very essential to the function and flow of our industry, that's what categorizes you on how your membership shows up. I
Yeah.
also want to make sure that I clarify again, the Grammys is not the same as MTV Music Awards, American Music Awards, Critic Choice Awards. So public and fan voting does not matter. It does not decide who wins. Now, like I said, popularity and fan engagement can certainly encourage a voter to say, "Hey, maybe I should take a look at this," but it's not fan voted. So, for all of y'all that are fans of somebody that has not won an award, it's a beautiful thought, but it does not have bearing on how people are voted.
Mm. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is true. Absolutely
Yeah,
true.
that's important. Actually, too, what a lot of people think is that sales matter in the
Yeah.
voting, and it does not.
Yeah. It does not. It's quality of content. It's so many other areas, but more specifically the quality of the project. And I love that independent artists have a shot at being honored and recognized competitively up against these major label artists that are putting, content out as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. And for independence, because our heart is directed for independence to help educate them, to help give them the tools and resources, to help them develop the right mindset, skill set, and tool set to be effective in the industry. And I think that's the thing because we always say, if you are in this industry, you should be moving like how majors are moving, right? What are some of those tools and tactics and practices that they're employing that you could put in your own independent business today? Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it's called excellence, and just the gist of it is excellence. Your
mm,
output should be the very best of you, not, just, "Yeah, Imma try this and hope it sticks." Like, see what is working and what is winning, and let that inform the excellence of your output.
mm, mhm. So,
Mhm.
so with that, right? So, I had a chance to listen to your latest project, and so with your latest project,
You dig it, doc? Do you dig it? Talk to me. Tell
dig
me
it.
what you
I
thought.
dig it. Look, we talk about it, right? So it definitely does blend, R&B, soul, and spoken word together in a very one. What I loved about it is that it was a continuous flow,
Yes.
beginning to the end. Right? It told one continuous story, and I think a lot of times we hear music that are so sometimes disjointed. Uh,
Mhm.
it doesn't blend very well, but this you can tell it was one continuous story.
Yeah.
So with something like your project, because there's elements of soul, there's elements of spoken word, there's elements of R&B,
Go
there's
gospel, like
gospel. Yeah, I
mhm.
mean, there's even one song in there that has a trap
Oh,
element. type of
And
feel.
trap, 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 trap. Yeah, stop playing with him because that boy did
Yeah,
put a little trap in
did.
there.
I thought I did hear that. Right. So it has so many different blendings of styles that's on this project. So how do you think the Academy should handle projects that naturally cross genres like that?
I think in that case, it's an honoring of the artist intent. Because I understood that the great majority of my project that was consistent was the spoken word aspect. I made certain that 6 of the tracks were spoken word and 5 of them, that 5 of them were the music, and I wanted to create a fusion of how I artistically express myself. And at the end of the day, that was a category where I felt I most fit. That's what should be the prevailing determinant, where you most fit. And what happened was, I believe that the screening committee, which I do believe has a overall um pure intention to place things where they sincerely feel they belong. However, we can never police the internal mindset of humans that are involved in what is supposed to be an ethical, process. We can't police if their decision is anything beyond ethical. We can't really, we wouldn't be able to tell. We'd have to be mind readers or psychics. I just know that while my type of spoken word is not typical neo soul spoken word of I went to the mall and I decided to shop, like
Mm,
my right, yeah. And I honor that style of spoken word, but there's another style that exists. And that style is the motivational, it's the meditative, it's the style that I use as my spoken word, which is very true to my artistry. If you've seen any of my shows, you know that I incorporate this. And so while I have had projects in the past that are only the spoken word and motivation, I said, you know what? I'm going to do a project that has all of me on one project that will literally show the experience of my live show. This is what, when you go to my shows, you'll say, that's the Hope Dealer Sessions. That's the Hope Dealer Sessions,
mhm.
which for all the viewers is out right now. So go get that.
That's right. That's right.
Uh, but I was shocked when they moved it out of spoken word because I know that my intention was to meet as many of the requirements of spoken word album as possible so that it could have a comfortable home and not be, I don't know, let's throw it over here. Or because I do know, as you even expressed, soul, R&B, gospel, trap, and also you'll hear a little of the folk with the For the
I
Win,
feel like
which is
there's
the,
some Americana in there,
yeah,
yeah.
Americana, exactly. So you literally can't say that this is an R&B album. Maybe if you say progressive R&B, because that's more of the eclectic world of R&B, which has all the nuances and differences, like a Avery Sunshine and a Duran, but at the end of the day, it just felt like they just threw it in R&B just to get it out of the way of spoken word, and that bothered me
Mm.
because my thing is it's inspirational. If anything, throw it a gospel album. Like if you just threw it in R&B, because there's no way you can say, oh, this is an R&B album.
So I
Like,
know you
yeah.
mentioned that you spoke with someone. Did they give you a reasoning as to how they came up with where they put it?
So what I was told, the download that I was given by executive leadership, and to respect the who so that I don't, make it
Right.
look like I'm pointing fingers at who, just know that Major has been engaged with the Recording Academy for many years. Both
Mhm.
mentorship, I was the inaugural class of the Grammy Next program. So I've been engaged for quite some time and an active member for 10 years at the very minimum. So I know a lot of the folks that are
Right.
a part of the inner workings. And so I did speak to executive leadership because I wanted to express this grievance, because this is not my first time dealing with this and finding out on the first day of voting when it's too late. And so when I did speak to them, what was told back to me was that the actual screening committee specific to my category had decided that it did not have enough spoken word for it to be considered spoken word. So my thing is, so you thought it had enough R&B for it to be thrown out of spoken word and put over there? If we're comparing the two, I believe that it has way more spoken word than it does anything else. So leave it there and leave it up to the professionalism and the expertise of our highly vetted voters to decide if it's worth their vote. Because you're not technically going to vote for something that doesn't belong in a category. Like I've seen it in the past where I saw certain artists
Yeah.
in certain spaces and I'm like,
Again.
yeah, nope. Because I'm like, that doesn't belong.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's all I was told was 13%, I mean, 13 minutes of that 22-minute project, the Hope Dealer Sessions, which is available now. I'm an independent artist, so I'm gonna plug it as much as I can.
Hey,
But
brother,
You're in the right place.
you're in the right place, brother.
I was told that 13 minutes of that project was music. And technically you're supposed to have 50% or more. Now, mind you, I didn't count the minutes. I counted the tracks. And
Tracks.
so I knew that it was intentional about making sure that there were more spoken word tracks than there were music. But they counted the how long some of the songs were. Some of my spoken word was 3 minutes, some was 2 minutes and 30 minutes, some was a minute and 30. But 13 minutes out of that 22 minutes, knock it off. Like now you're getting in the weeds of things when it could very well live there and you just leave it to the voters to decide.
Mm.
So I have a question, and
Yes, sir.
actually, I love that this is a conversation,
Mhm.
because I think that there's actually several layers to this onion that need to be peeled, right?
Yeah.
Um, but the first thought that I had was, to your artistic point, if the man says it's spoken word, and this category is under R&B, then that's what it is, right? So then I turn around and let me give you the full
Are
circle.
you talking right or what? Keep going, Ty.
No, now you about to. Well, I'm now about to give you both sides of the coin here.
Yes, yes, I
What
understand.
what does Major say to the spoken word artist who doesn't have the ability to sing, who that but still has an impactful message, who
Mhm.
doesn't have the phenomenal production, but still is true to the artistic value of a spoken word? And they have 12 tracks, all spoken word, and they love R&B music. They love Major as an artist. What do you say to them in terms of, do they think that they are on an equal footing and equal playing grounds when it comes to people judging their spoken word,
I
specifically word, versus yours?
Mhm.
So what we are talking about is an output of the style or I guess it would be more of the aesthetic of the project that we're really speaking to. In R&B, there are different aesthetics of projects. You cannot say that Tiana Taylor's album is similar to Coco Jones. They are literally two aesthetically different projects, but are very much R&B. And while Teyana Taylor may have some theatrics in her stuff because she's a great storyteller, you're not going to say that it doesn't belong over here because she did more storytelling on this. My thing is, I definitely feel that a an artist that only did spoken word with no music should
No
still
music.
be is with no music still should still contend. However, there is a genius in the world of spoken word artistry by the name of Jay Ivy. And if you listen to any of his projects, you will hear music. His wife, an incredible artist, is singing all throughout. He's had John Legend. He's had Common. He's had all of these artists on his project. So I'm not too far away. I just did all the stuff myself. I didn't
Right.
have
Right,
features. I was my
right.
feature, except for David Banner, which my guy,
Yeah.
and the Berkeley Summer Gospel Choir. But that's what I would say to that. I do believe they can all exist in this space. Just let the voters do what they do. Now, mind you, if I only had one or two spoken words, we're talking about something different. But the fact that you can literally tell, you can escape the talking that is done on here. I'm not saying talking at all either. Like I am
Right.
talking. I am
Yeah.
talking. And some of them don't even have music on them.
Music. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very clear that I am intentional about meeting the requisites of spoken word for what spoken word is and how it's embraced. My thing is, I also have this issue. If you decided that it didn't belong, give me some time to appeal and pull that mess out of there so that I do not have to defend it being put in R&B. Cuz now people are wondering, Major think this R&B? Cuz the screening committee isn't making an announcement to the public to say that they've moved you. They all people are seeing is it's been submitted here. They don't have a
That's right.
tag on there and said screening committee removed this from spoken word and moved it to you. They don't have those disclaimers. So now I am looked at as a opportunist artist that doesn't really know where he belongs. And so I'm having to fight a promotional battle and recourse that, which is just as expensive as the work that I did preceding to lead them up to believe that I belong where I thought I was in the first place. So
So
that's yeah.
Yeah.
that's a great segue into what I think is another part of the conversation that needs to be had. But before we go there, I got one more example, one more
Okay.
question.
Yes, sir.
So I went back and looked, and last year's winner, everybody know who won spoken word last year?
Was spoken word won by it
It
wasn't Jay
was
Ivy's again. It was
um
Tanking the Bangers. Was it
Tanking
them?
the Bang, Tanking the Bangers. Okay,
Anything
so
else, sir?
Tanking the
Ty?
Bangers, I will tell you sonically, you guys share a lot of similarities.
Stop playing with me, Ty.
Imma give you both
But
sides of the coin one
okay.
more time though.
Okay. Go, go, go.
The Tanking the Bangers project, I mean, you could play your guys' music side by side.
And
It's
I
a
love
great
them,
time,
by the way.
right? It's a great time. What do you say to the person who says there's 12 songs on the Tank and the Bangers project? Every single song has a spoken word section, all 12 tracks.
I
Your
say
reply is
I say that it belongs in spoken word, and I think it's a beautiful thing. You're literally speaking to the heart of my inspiration. Jay
mm,
Ivy, Tank and the Bangers,
yeah.
um,
I think Jay Ivy's even on one of
Omari.
the tracks.
Yeah, I know. Omari Hardwick, my brother. Like I'm very
Yes,
clear what I've seen, and that's why I felt safe.
Mm.
That's why I felt safe because I'm like, well, I'm gonna do mine a little different. Now, mind you, I did some talking on some of mine. I need you to do something for me. I
that's
need you
right.
to breathe. That's on Say La Be Still.
Mhm.
Inhale, exhale. I did that on Say La Be Still. I even did on record back. I can, I will, I can, I will, I can't. Like we can if we're going in the weeds of it, it can be said that I spoke on number of a number of things because that's literally what my artistry does. But my artistry is not limited to R&B just because Why I Love You had success in
Mhm.
R&B. Just
Yeah.
because Honest won my first ever Grammy nomination, I am not a solely R&B artist by default. I literally, and we can talk about it. I would like to hear whatever you say next, and I'll go into saying who Major is.
Of course. Now, I think you said a couple things in there. Really about the dichotomy between how albums sound sonically different, but how they're still placed in the same category, right? I mean, even though from a production perspective, a genre perspective, they sound like R&B, but Tiana Taylor's and Coco Joe, they may be completely different. And I think, on the podcast, we've kind of talked about this a whole lot, is that there really isn't any division to where you can say, and in hip hop also, right? There's hip hop, there's R&B, but when you look at all the other, there's other subcategories where
Right.
things can be placed into that kind of fit more of what the intention is, right? So in my research, because I started really digging into
Come
this,
on, research. Come on, research.
research guy, right? So I kind of start digging into this whole thing, because once again, I am a professional member, right? So
Yeah,
I submit, but I can't vote, right?
yeah.
And the project, I submitted the project back in 2017, but I
Mhm.
was, and I don't know where it didn't go anywhere. But
Mm.
I think part of that, as you stated in a couple of things, one is, what is that process from a notification perspective? I didn't really see any. I didn't see where they said, okay, because the process should be, when you make an entry, right? The entry, and it talks about the entry is not a nomination until it's confirmed to be in that particular category, right? So then once it's uh in that category, how then do they determine that it belongs in this category versus this other category? And it talks about, the committee goes through a particular process. They look at various different factors to determine whether it fits into that genre, that category specifically. And if the steering committee feels that it doesn't, then they send it off to another steering committee where they review it, and then they make a decision to say, okay, yes, it fits, or no, it doesn't. And then if they can't make a decision if it really fits, then the final determinant that determines what it goes into is artist
It's
intent,
artist intent.
right?
It has to do all of that.
It has to do all of that in order for it to reach artist intention to say, I feel it belongs into this particular category. And in that process, there isn't any type of, from what I saw, any type of notification, heads up,
There
email.
can I so I to the respect of the Grammy process. They did implement, because of the this is what happens. There is a year-round calendar of movement that happens.
Mhm.
And it is a very tight calendar, a schedule of responsibilities and activations and executions of what makes up the Recording Academy, inclusive of the Grammy season.
Right.
So windows to do certain things are sometimes very minimal, very short. One of the things that did change to our advantage was they added up an extra day. I think maybe 2 days, as opposed to finding out the day before, or not finding out at all that it had been moved. That's still not enough time for someone, especially an independent artist, a responsible independent artist, or responsible artist, period. I don't want to just say independent, because it's a responsible artist anyway. There is a preceding due diligence that we do to promote and set up our projects, that they be well and properly received for when for your consideration time actually comes, when it comes to voting, so that we don't have to beg people to see us as a certain thing once they are now deciding to vote. One of the craziest things to do is to wait until someone it is in their booth, there while they're in front of their ballot, asking them to consider you. Most of the time it's illegal. If
Mm.
we're talking about voting in America, it's an illegal thing to try to convince somebody to vote for you while they're in front of their ballot. So the ethic of trying to get somebody to change or to consider you while in the midst of voting is actually I think it's uncouth. It's inappropriate. It should not be your option. I think you want to have done the work to prove that you deserved it up until it's time to vote. And so they the Grammys has an email that it looks very generic, and for most of us it goes to our spam. Because it's so generic. It's not like the direct. It goes to our spam, and so unless you are digging through a spam folder, you may not ever see that your categories were changed. And most of the time, no one expects their categories to be changed.
Right.
I certainly didn't. I had,
Yeah.
issues with other categories because I was gonna submit the David Banner, version of "I Prayed for You," that remix for rap, melodic rap, and they were like, "Well, you already have the remix for something else. You can't submit 2 versions." And so it had to be pulled. So I was like, "Well, I can't do that." And I just dealt with the fact that it had to be pulled. And also, they were telling me the last correspondence that I had multiple versions of "I Prayed for You." I worked the heck out of that song, which I encourage independent artists. Because we spend so much money and it takes so
Say
much
that.
to work a project,
Mhm.
work the
Yes.
heck out of the
Yes.
song until
Yes.
it can't be worked anymore.
They need to hear
Remixes,
that
different
loud.
versions, collaborations,
Yeah.
maxi singles, like, just consider other versions of getting that out,
Mhm.
and you will get your money's worth of that particular song, and I that's just something that I learned and I leaned into. But they told me I could only submit 1 version of "I Prayed for You," not including the remix, 1 version of "I Prayed for You." I had one that was CCM with a, feature by a CCM artist named Joseph Habedank, because CCM, that format, did not embrace "I Prayed for You" as is. Yet, because we understand that CCM is usually white facing.
Mhm.
Let's just be honest. They
Mhm.
do not generally embrace African Americans in that space unless you start
Unless you
out playing to that community.
yeah, unless you like the Newsboys or,
Lecrae,
yeah,
they because Lecrae wasn't typical gospel, they put him in CCM, and so that's been the space that he's
yeah.
thrived in the most, and it's getting better. I'm not saying that it's still just stuck on only black and white, but it's a very sensitive thing where they don't just let
Mhm.
you live there. So for me to have so much success with "I Prayed for You" in gospel from the top of the Billboard charts in gospel airplay for 2 consecutive weeks, for getting 2 nominations, one including Song of the Year for the Gospel Music Stellar Awards.
Right.
Gospel, 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 gospel.
Mhm.
Why are you moving this glaringly successful gospel song to Christian contemporary? That makes me think something more has to be
Mm.
at play here. And it can't just be we're basing this off of Sonics,
Yeah.
because we had the Berkeley Gospel Choir added to it singing very gospel-y.
Yeah,
Like,
when you listen to that song, I don't there's if I'm being honest, there's just not a way that I can hear it and go, "Oh, this is CCM."
oh, oh, that's CCM. Now
This
it's quality and it's commercially sonically there. It's not where you can say, "Oh, those aren't that's made in the church." You can
Mhm.
hear that, and that's actually been a part of my conundrum is I present at a very high commercial quality that makes people say it's pop versus it's this, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "No, I just I have an excellent output. Don't throw me over there just because it's clean. Like, just because you
So
can't hear the scratch of the organ, there's B3 in that."
right.
Mm.
So I was thinking to myself, right, as I was listening to the project for probably like the 15th time because it's good, Hope Dealer.
Thank you, Busy.
Um, it is good.
Yeah, for sure.
You need to go check that out. There's something that you said, and I'm always like a problem solving thought process person, right? And
Yeah.
so there was something that you said that I thought like would be a great segue into us talking about. So what do we do? On one of the tracks, you say, "Feel what you feel, acknowledge what you felt, but don't let it keep you stuck."
Stuck.
Right?
Come on, Doc. Preach back to me.
So I give the Academy credit for trying to be as versatile as and adjust as music adjusts. But I think that we are the catalyst for those adjustments being made. So I think this is one of those opportunities where we don't want to get stuck in this moment because I'm sure you're not the only person who has
Oh, no.
had this experience.
No.
What would you say, or have you even thought about what the process would be? Kind of like even Vaughn mentioned, what could be done instead of what the Academy is currently doing in terms of moving projects from one category to another? How do you see that?
Well, I do want to laud the Academy for trying to respond to every issue, every
Yeah.
concern as
I think
best
that
they
they
can.
move too much sometimes
Mhm.
just to
I
try to
do
take
too.
care of everybody.
I do too.
I
And
think
what
they do.
ends up happening is in their remedy, they end up hurting other people that are the
Someone
people that
else.
yes. And so
100%.
this is my thing. I want to give credit because this issue is not brand new. It's actually
Okay.
been a prevailing issue. I literally have the scenario of my album, Even More, which is one of my favorites. It includes a song called Honest that won
Mhm.
nomination for
Yep.
traditional R&B performance. It didn't win, it received nomination
Yeah.
for traditional R&B performance. However, the Recording Academy Screening Committee moved my album. We spent a whole lot of money this year. This particular year is 2018.
Mhm.
Empire, I was signed to Empire, and we had half the success of Why I Love You. I'm supposed to be the one of the new voices of R&B by default because that was never my plan. That's just Why I Love You just blew up, and they said I was bringing back classic R&B. I was like, okay. Nevertheless, they took that Even More album and moved it out of R&B album to pop. Stop playing with me. Somebody's playing with me. Now, outside of voting season, it's an honor if you think that my project deserves to be recognized amongst pop albums and all that stuff. But stop playing with me because we know good and well that Major, the artist that is now being seen as his R&B artist, is not thriving in pop at all. Pop would not be playing these records unless we had hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not a million, to work the projects over there. Now, I do understand that often people compare me to lanes of a Bruno Mars and a John Legend that can breathe in those spaces. But let's be real, the DSPs were not embracing it over there. They were embracing it as an R&B album. And you it was insulting that they would move it and not let me know because I found out on day 1 of voting when it
Mhm.
was too late because you can't change the ballot because then it affects everything else and it's costly. And so I'm calling everybody to get help. And they're just like, that's just what it is. What? So all
Yeah.
this hard work I put in, so how the heck am I to tell people, can y'all vote for me in pop?
So what's the solution?
this is the solution is our engagement, our continuous engagement, because the public can't do much more than just say, hey, do it right. We can do a petition all day long, can you fix this? But it's not the public's duty, it is the inner workings of our voting membership. If we do not put voice to fixing this, it's not going to be fixed in the direction of what needs to change. However, I want to again give credit, they are trying to fix it. But the thing is, we can't keep having this many artists suffering because people are moving it. Let artist intent be what it is until you can fix another screening committee to decide how they're going to move it. But my thing is, it can only be fixed when we vote and decide on it and the leadership agrees that it will be changed. I'm on those committees. I've been a part of the committees that put in the proposals and the propositions for these things. And so my thing is, it sucks that I'm a casualty of the very thing that I'm trying to help advocate against. And
Well, let's
so
put it together, Major. Let's start the constructive conversation to making it different, because I think that you have the opportunity to do that. I believe that
absolutely.
that can happen. I love what Vaughn said, and if we need to sit down and do that together, to put that proposal together, because you know that you can walk it into those people. Let's give them an idea. Let's give the academy. Let's be those active members that we know they want us to be. To Vaughn's point about shouldn't there be at least an opportunity for you to, or I think even you said it as well, to give
The
a
appeal process.
rebuttal, almost
Yeah.
argue your case.
Yeah.
Give me 48 hours at least to argue my case before you stick me in that category. I had the weird thought that this is a peer voting organization, right? But the peers don't get to say whether or not they felt like it was the right category. So
Yeah.
I wonder if there should be a box when you select a record that says, do you think this record is in the right category? Just yes or no. It's just one box. You click yes or no. If you click no, then you have to tell them what category you think it goes in. But then that way it's done by your peers. So now you have two votes in your favor. One, which is where you, the artist, said you felt like it should go, and then two being that of the peer
I
group that agrees. That way, if the
so are
craft committee doesn't agree, it's still two against one.
But listen here. Firstly, I will say this, and I may be off by a few percentage points. Only 40%, unfortunately, of the
No,
voting
you're
body
right.
actually votes.
Actually votes. Mhm.
So getting all of them together, is the likelihood is very, very slim. And also understanding that they're trying to get a process to fit in a calendar window that does not elongate the process already, to where it can get results out sooner, so that the proper voting for those standing nominees can actually go to play. So while I certainly would not be opposed to us getting, coming together and meeting to put together a proposal. I will say there are a number of proposals that already exist that are very specific to what we're saying, and that's my point. It usually takes 2 years for something finally to be implemented to
Mhm.
change. And then you're like affected by it. And most people that are not affected by it are the ones cheering for it. And it's like, yo, like I didn't do this open letter simply because I had a singular grievance. I made the
Right.
call because I had a singular grievance.
Mhm.
When many artists came to me, famous and not so famous,
Mhm.
came to me saying, this happened to me. Who do I talk to? Because they see Major's always holding high the banner of the Recording Academy. I got the merch. This ain't just me just conveniently trying to sweep in and say, I'm Mr. Grammy. I am a member, an active member of the
Active.
Recording Academy. And so me bringing this to the public is also to put steam and attention behind the urgency of getting this rectified, because it honestly in real time is being worked on, but it's not seemingly fast enough. Beyonce, I support her, but 99.9% of the country music industry did not. How do you think Beyonce remained in a category that 99.9% of the industry did not support? Artist intent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You can say what you want, but that's artist intent. And not only did she stay, she won the category.
Right.
It's
And
subjective to who you feel should have won it. But
look, and even off
I'm
that,
just,
went through a process of changing the category
yeah,
for country because of that.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I also think I don't, and what's crazy is I'm not fully against it, because at the end of the day, that's what we experienced in rock, we experienced it in pop, we experienced it in R&B. There's traditional R&B performance
Right.
and regular R&B. There's
Right.
R&B and progressive. So I'm not mad at that, but you see how fast stuff can move?
When you
Do
Hmm.
you get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Because I
Yeah.
don't remember
Absolutely.
voting on it. Like, and I'm a voting
Ac-
member.
That's
You get what I'm
right.
saying? You see how things can
Absolutely.
move? And that's all I'm saying. Let's remember that the engine of the Recording Academy is fueled by the independent artist's commitment and engagement,
mm,
not
100%.
conveniently the pop stars that decide to voice their concern and their grievances
mhm.
when it's award season. And that's not all of them, but it always seems to be the common situation. So you have somebody that waited until after first round voting so that it's clear that I'm not trying to beg for votes right now. I'm advocating for something that makes it fair for all of us to competitively participate in what this thing called the Grammys is really about.
Yeah. It's crazy because this has happened, and I'm literally listening to the project, and I'm like,
Mhm.
the only way that Major can fight this fight is by listening to the Hope Dealer,
No, yeah.
because it literally
The Hope Dealer session's
on
out
the
now. Everybody listening, everybody watching this clip, go and listen to my project and tell me, does it belong mostly? Does it fit more so in spoken word or R&B album? And if you feel that, so be it. But
yeah.
I know I ain't crazy. I'm a very intelligent person.
But
And
this is
I'm not
important.
one that
This
tries to push
You may be the
divisiveness.
person that needs to start this conversation on a granular level so that it can build to be what it needs to be. And this may be the purpose of this in itself. Just like on the record Get Back In, where you say the direction of your movement may need to shift.
Mhm.
Sir,
It
shift
ma
is taking
Yep.
place.
so Major, here's my question,
Wait,
right?
wait, wait. Take a moment. There's a Selah moment here. And no pun intended. That is a track on my project. But I want to Selah with what you just deposited, bro. What you just gave back to me. Ty, I don't do what I do simply for entertainment, but it is for the better making of who we are as humanity, how we show up in the love and intention of God. And you spoke to something by simply reiterating my own lyrics back
Your
to me
own message and the
to
power in
encourage my
it.
heart, in this space. Because yes, it feels isolating. It
Mm,
is a very courageous and bold move. It is brave to speak power to a system that is seemingly way bigger than me. But I'm convinced that when you are advocating for righteousness, for rightness, for justice, for fairness, you will always have the backing of a God who started it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I'm moving. My hope is backed by a promise keeper, by a powerful source. This ain't just about me. Too many artists have cried to me with their grievances. I worked so hard in this direction. Who do I talk to? It seems like no one is here fighting for me. I got you. Let's do it
Yeah,
together.
that's why this is huge.
Sorry,
In that
Vaughan. Go
respect.
ahead, boy. Go ahead, man. I'm
Now,
sorry.
how can I ask a question after, right?
Fine. Go ahead, man. I'm
Uh,
sorry about that. It's
That's the
real. This is serious to me. And
Mhm.
it's not about needing attention. And
100%.
honestly, this has been me all my life. I've been an ambassador for justice. Dr. Martin Luther King, I remember Amber Riley said if Martin Luther King were to come back as a recording artist, he'd come back as Major.
Mm.
Mm.
Because I move for the all of us, not ever just for me. That would
Mm.
be a waste of time and breath and purpose.
S- So I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
With that, do you fear? And I know you don't. I'm going to pose the question. Fear is probably the wrong word. Um, Repercussions because of your stance and your challenging of a system to change its methodologies, its rules, its structure on how it does this process.
I kind of, I'd be, I'd be lying to say there's no concern for possible repercussions, right? But I am convinced enough that I'm on the right side of this, that should that be my portion, let it be. Because I do believe that goodness prevails. I can name drop a lot of the people that have liked and said, I stand with you. That includes trustees,
Mhm.
that includes famous folk, that includes independent artists, that includes everyday people. If you actually read my letter, you will see that it was written with grace, integrity, respect, but clear, succinct charge. Nothing more. Nothing more. I specified this was after voting closed, that I not get in the way of anyone else's opportunity or chances. I didn't want to uh, delegitimize. I didn't want to make people look like they didn't deserve to be in categories that they were in. I didn't want to get in the way of that. I could have acted a fool. I know a whole lot of folk, but I didn't do that because it doesn't serve me to do that. So I'm praying that I have a groundswell of support and or the necessary support to just enact change for fair process. And I would love to participate in it. At the end of the day, I know my trophy ain't the Grammys. I know it holds, it is a more divine truth. And we can get into that, but this isn't some Christian podcast, but we're believers. We
Yeah,
know at the end of the day, that's the crown is what we're living for.
absolutely.
Right.
But I do understand that while I'm here on earth, I'm going to represent the love, the hope, and the justice I know God wants us all to partake in.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Um, that's beautiful. My second question is kind of piggybacking off what Ty had already talked about in regards to how do we fix it, right? Um, because when you think about organizations this big, when you think about the the many moving parts of this type of entity, different steering committees for different genres and different things happening throughout the year, which could also have the ability to introduce biases. It can have the ability to introduce um, favoritism when it comes to this process, right? So, what do you think the Academy needs to do from a transparency perspective when it comes down to this entire process?
They can easily respond back with the statement of what they are doing to rectify it. Executive leadership seemingly sympathized for me. They said, I I feel I feel for what you're going through. They didn't say I feel it. I feel for what you're going through. A number of other artists are dealing with this matter, but changing an entire ballot specific to each person's grievance is not something that's doable right now. It's not feasible, function and financially. And so I respected that. I will say there was one executive in leadership that showed empathy, and I was really appreciative of her empathy. Um, and yeah, I do believe that there will be champions in the internal space to really work to fix this sooner than later. I would just say make a statement to clarify. And also to clarify that you understand I'm not trying to disparage or shame the Recording Academy, because that's not what I'm doing. A number of people have called me to talk about it or gossip about it. I'm not in the business of gossiping about anything. You know, this is what it is. This is what we're faced with. How can we make it right? Because it's a lot of work when you're in the business of it. Yes, we love to do this award or not, but once you step into the business of it, yes, an award matters when you step into the business of it, because awards affect the way in which the public celebrates you as well, which then in turn impacts your wallet. Do you
That's
know
right.
how many records are I believe Samara Joy, a lot of folks had no idea who she was. A lot of people did,
Correct.
but a whole lot of people did not. 900%, 900% listening, a boost, 900%
Wow.
listen to her records. That's impressive. And that's the impact of celebration. When I was Grammy nominated, a whole bunch more folks learned about me. And so I know what it does, how it impacts, how it helps. And that's honestly what the Recording Academy is aware of. We have committees. They do committees throughout the year by genre. I will admit, I probably should have figured out, although I was on tour during some of them, I should have made certain I was on more of the spoken word activity. I was engaged with some of the activities that they had throughout the year so that I showed face more in
Right.
the space,
Mhm.
so that it showed, hey, I
You
actually am
identify.
a part of this community. Like I'm not trying to just show up and take all of your stuff, because remember, spoken word used to be conjoined with um audiobook and
That's right.
narration.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So spoken word was going up against a Michelle Obama or Barack Obama, and it's like, knock it off. Like,
Mhm.
and they did a great job, but those two shouldn't have been shared. Rightfully so. Shout out to Jay Ivy for doing the work, and all of those that advocated for it to be its own genre category. I supported it a great deal, and I've had, like I said, projects that were accepted for consideration. They never got nominated, but they were accepted for consideration. So I'm privy to the culture of it and what's respect required. But I could have engaged a lot more in the community to show, hey, I'm wanting to be a part of this community as well.
Mhm.
But I am like a number of people. It's a small populace of us, but I think the populace is growing. We're fusion artists that are not a monolith. I studied at the Berklee College of Music. That's where I got my degree. Preceding that, the Juilliard School Winter Intensive. It's classical. The Houston Grand Opera, the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, the same institution that Robert Glasper, Brian Michael Cox, and Beyonce and LaToya Luck and a bunch of folks went to. I am very versed in a number of genres, and I do them well and authentically. Folk, all of that stuff, that's my Americana. Like I live in these spaces authentically. So where do I go when I show up in the fullness of who I am? And I want it to be honored and celebrated the right way.
Mhm.
That too, I think that that's another piece of this scenario that's gotta be flushed out is and maybe it's called fusion, but I really do believe that there needs to be a category that can be, specifically and exclusively decided upon by the artist's intent to where if it's a mesh of many genres, it is exactly that, and that is an intentional creative project, and that they leave it where it is and it be understood and respected for that.
Yeah, Duran, I think, is a great example. He's very eclectic in his R&B expression. It's not just typical,
Right,
standard R&B. It's not
right,
it's elements of tradition, it's element of new age. It's all of these colors, and he brilliantly sits in progressive R&B. He
yeah,
he like he's a poster child for it. And so my thing was, don't just throw me an R&B, when you know that there's enough progressive reality here that could just say, well, let's just put him in progressive R&B. I would have respected that a little bit more. But I think the artist intent argument is what I'm having. The I don't want to say argument. The artist intent charge is what I'm putting forward. The giving the allotment of time to appeal and or withdraw
yes,
should be sufficient. And also, what do you do when you have to recourse explaining to a community that you are now in a category that they may not think you belong in? And
Mhm.
so now, when I did high level Tamron Hall twice, Jamal Bryant, um, uh, Berkeley Gospel Hall of Fame. I was inducted in the Gospel Hall of Fame.
Heck yeah.
It's a contemporary Hall of Fame. Please,
But
please.
look,
But what's funny is they actually sound like some friends of mine. That the voices.
ooh, yeah.
Yeah, Major.
now,
Yeah.
but Major, you're absolutely right because where's my magazine?
And I agree too, Major. I think that when I read this, well, let me see. When I read this category is intended for artists whose music is rooted in many of the elements of R&B, but has more progressive sound that may include elements such as hip hop, rap, pop, dance, electronic music. That's describing progressive R&B. I
Yeah.
don't know how we got to the R&B category, but I would describe. I mean, you literally it's like almost like a drill section on a trap track with harmonies on the top of it.
Mhm.
Is very experimental, progressive, and the mixture of many musical influences. I don't see how you just neatly lay it into R&B. I don't know if it's spoken word, but I definitely would have been, like you said,
Yeah.
comfortable that they're gonna move it, put it somewhere that it does
That is
speak
actually
to the strength of the project, which is its versatility.
that's right.
That part. That part. Set all of us up for a fighting chance.
Look,
Like you may as well dump me in polka. Okay, go ahead. People were looking for me in my categories, and they were just like, where where are
Right.
you? And all these people telling me, I'm like, wait, what's going on? Shout out to Prince Charles Alexander, the
Mm.
vocal producer behind the Berkeley um, versions of my songs. Like, he's like, I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. And I'm like, look again, please. Like,
Mm. You, you
Lord
know,
of mercy. But Vaughn, what would you about to say,
now,
boy?
like when you actually sit back and think about it, when categories are changed and you're already starting your FYI campaign, FYC campaigns, right? And these nice, wonderful things come out right here with all the nice pictures. Oh, you can't even see it. All the nice
Oh,
pictures,
I know. I'm in a few of them.
right?
And it's expensive.
It's expensive. It is expensive. So think about it, even for yourself, someone who's established, right? Whether it's independent or not, but somebody who's established, somebody who has done amazing music, won awards, has been in the spotlight, continuously in the spotlight. Think about the average everyday independent artists who are, because I have a friend, and you probably know him. I think because he does a lot of stuff with Jay Ivy, Matt B, who eventually moved out to Cali, won
Mhm.
his first Grammy. Uh,
Last year. Shout out
yeah,
to Matt B.
but he,
Yeah, shout out to Matthew. Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
a homie right there.
absolutely.
Think about how much it will cost for somebody from a independent perspective like that to be doing all of the, if a category got changed, right? Even just from
Vaughn,
the outside.
Vaughn, Vaughn, hear me. That's me. Like, I when I was signed, I haven't been signed to Empire in a very long time. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were probably frustrated after the Grammys did what they did. That could be what informed our split,
Right.
and I just didn't know. But I am not signed. I bought an ad from Billboard for last year's only to be moved around.
Mm,
It's not fair. It is not setting us up for a leveled playing ground. It is not, but I don't think that they're intending for it not to be. It's just this is what happens with privilege. People have blind spots if it's not a challenge to them.
right.
You cannot know what is an issue if it is not your own, and
Right.
or if you are not aware of anyone with it.
Right.
So
Right. You
I'm
become
not
an
think
unintended consequence.
Right.
yes, yes. So I'm not saying that this is intentional to disregard the plight of the independent, but I have literally spent more money on myself for the as an artist for the past year and a half now. Only me, no other entity. And it is expensive. It is costly. My only benefit is that I went to the Berklee College of Music and I studied entertainment marketing. So my mind knows how to pick up where someone else has dropped the ball or doesn't pick it up at all.
Mm,
So I figure it out. I strategize. I say, okay, how can we flip this? How can we spin this into
Right.
what this is? I
Yes.
literally have a new song called For the Win. That is my new single. I said, God, I was like, God, how am I going to be able to promote? Because I'm showing you that this is all also working together for your win. Your win may not be the Grammy, but it will be the success of destiny concerning your life.
mm.
You are going to experience a win,
This
even
is the
with
shift.
this.
Let's go.
This is the
So
shift that you
it's
spoke
all
about.
working.
That's right.
Bro, thank you, Ty. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mm.
It's all working together
All
for
working
the
together.
win.
That's
For the
right.
win.
That's right. So Ty, look, I don't know if Ty has another question. I guess I'll have last one more question. Major, I want to hold
There
you up
you
too
go.
much. But I guess for me, the last question would be looking ahead, how do you want your advocacy for fairer recognition to shape your legacy, both as an artist and as a thought leader?
I want them to know when they say Major, he lives the hope he gives. He lives the hope he gives, not just for himself, but for all of us. Period.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Man.
That's stronger than a double shot drink right there. You can't end no better than that.
Facts, man.
Yo,
Major
this was the God knows what he's doing, yo.
always.
This was the tasteful setting that I needed and wanted and prayed for, because I was like, I do not want it to be exploited in the wrong way to where it is missed what the intention and the goal and the objective is, and also what my heart is saying in all of this, where my heart is. Man, I thank y'all. Y'all's your educated articulation of all of the points and perspectives, you challenging perspective. That's what this is about.
Absolutely.
And this is what we have to continue to do.
Absolutely.
Man, Major, it has been a pleasure. My brother Ty, of course, it's always a pleasure. Can't wait to get up this Friday so we can, chop it up on the podcast. But
y'all in Atlanta, or where y'all at?
We're in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I should be there the first week of November. So let's make time.
Yeah.
Let's break bread.
Yeah,
Because I have a feeling God is going to do something with this episode.
Let's make time. Let's make time. I don't know how you want me to obtain your contact information. If you want me to get it from
Ty should have it, don't you, Ty? Or no, you don't?
So.
If not, that's easy.
Send it to us.
Yeah, we'll get you. I got you.
Yeah,
I got you. Easy.
I was Keita.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do a podcast every Friday. So if you're ever in town, you want to jump on the podcast.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that'll be cool. But I saw it and I was like, I like this. And it didn't even hit me that it was Ty on it. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. I was like, wait a minute, I know this guy. And then I was like, wait a minute, it's Ty. Yeah, I was thinking because you favor the Gathering Spot brother as well a little bit. Yeah, and I was like, wait, is that him? And I know him too. So I know him by way of we've moved in shared circles. But I was just like, wait, that's Ty. But anyway,
and in the entertainment industry, I generally just never assume that anybody remembers anybody. So I never do the me type thing. I just kind of wait for it to naturally be.
Ty, our connection was so real and like familiar that I don't think there's too much room to forget. Cool.
That's what's up.
Well, we are brothers. We are brothers. And thank you all again for making time for me. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much for being here. Greatly appreciate it. All right. Y'all have a great evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thanks for tuning into the Indie Unplugged. We are out with our special guest for tonight, Major. Peace.